So basically, my shitty Kanye house video actually got a ton of views. Like right now, as of recording, it's almost 17k views, which is crazy. That's actually very cool, honestly. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna make a new video. And this video is actually gonna be about my personal tips for people who want to get better at creating, or just people who want to start creating in general. These are more like mental tips. I'm not like telling you do this, do that in the editor. I'm more like telling you what kind of mentality you should have when you build. And obviously also take these with a grain of salt, because I'm really not the best creator, honestly. So yeah. The first tip, and probably the most important one, is to not rush the learning process. Trust me on this. It's really important that you actually take your time when learning the various parts of creating, because it can lead to bad results if you didn't learn things properly, and those bad results will eventually just lead to demotivation, which you do not want, honestly. The second tip is to learn step by step. You want to make sure that you have knowledge in every important step of the creation process. First of all, you want to learn how to make a gameplay. My best tip for that is to not make click sync. Make something like that is kind of synced, but also not like completely synced to the song, you know? Maybe you can get your own rhythm in the pattern. For example, I do that and I get an average of like 5-6 CPS in my gameplay, and I think it's pretty good, honestly. The second step is to probably learn how to use the color and pulse trigger. I'm saying these ones because they actually use the color channels, or at least like the pulse trigger you can use the group, but you know, we're gonna focus on the color channel. The color trigger is the easiest because you just select a color channel and you also select a color that you want that specific channel to change to. You can add a certain time or whatnot, that's up to you. The pulse trigger, on the other hand, gives you a bit more options. For example, you can actually make the color both fade in and fade out. You can also make it hold. I usually make it do 0.1 seconds of hold and 0.5 seconds of fade out. That usually gives me good results, but you can, you know, mess around with the pulse trigger too. Then you can start learning the move trigger. I'm saying this one because, you know, the other one that's like simple to know is the alpha trigger, and honestly, if you don't know how to use the alpha trigger, I feel bad for you, honestly, because it's really easy. You just give some objects or one object a certain ID group, you set the ID group in the alpha trigger, and then you choose the opacity and the fade time. The move trigger is a bit more complex, especially in 2.2, because you have to set a group, obviously. You have to set the distance in the X direction and the Y direction, so horizontal and vertical. You can also add easings. For example, I like to use exponential out when there's a short move time, and on the other hand, I like to use like ease in out when there's a more like longer move time. For example, 1.5 second, 1 second, and below I usually just make it exponential out. But obviously, just like with the other triggers, you can mess around with it. You don't have to follow my instructions directly, okay? Then you can start to learn other triggers as you want, honestly. Maybe you can like learn like the rotate trigger. You can like learn the 2.1 triggers, because obviously most of the 2.2 triggers are actually quite complex, or at least some of them. And then if you want, you can move on to the 2.2 ones. After you've learned how to make gameplay and use the triggers overall, you can start making a basic block design. Like, don't instantly try to be some like masterful creator or some like Kulok or something. Trust me, you need to get there with time. And then After you've kind of learned how to make a block design, you can start to build your knowledge to gradually get better. You can get inspiration from other creators, but obviously don't copy, okay? The third tip is to not build solely for creator points. Trust me, the rating system is random, absolutely random. So really, if you're building for creator points, you'll just, most of the time, you'll end up very disappointed. Because obviously, as a new creator, your levels will have to be a lot better than, people who already have creator points to get rated, obviously. Just build stuff that you like, learn gradually, and then if you're gonna get creator points, you can try for a level made to get rated. But don't rush it, please, As I've said in tip number 1, do not rush the learning process or any part of creating. The fourth tip is please do not copy building tutorials step by step. There are so many building tutorials, and most of the time, trust me, if you follow one of those tutorials, like the answer how to get a featured level, or like how to build a featured worthy level or some shit in 5 minutes, don't follow those type of tutorial. Even the glow style, realism, everything, those are mostly bullshit. There's more behind the creating process for those styles, but they don't teach that. So trust me when I say that building tutorials, any kind of block style tutorials, building tutorials, they just leave out so much stuff. I don't know how to explain it simply right now, but it's honestly, I don't you have to believe me. If you use building tutorials, don't expect your levels to actually turn out as good as what's promised. You might be missing the background, air deco, and everything, honestly, if you follow a building tutorial, and background and air deco are pretty important parts of a level, obviously. The fifth tip is, if you wanna take inspiration from your favorite creators, don't just try to replicate specific block styles or specific levels from them. You should probably try to get the general idea of how they make their levels, or the logic behind their levels, and then try to build in that way, but with your own ideas. Also, one thing that works well with me is to try to kind of replicate certain aspects of the block designs from memory. I don't know if this works for everyone, but this works really, really well. I'm gonna show you an example. It works surprisingly well. Tip number 6 is to always take feedback as suggestions. Some feedback is really just meant to be a suggestion. If you follow every single little feedback that you get on your level, on your decoration, whatever, most of the time, trust me, your level's not gonna be your level. If you don't want to change something that a feedbacker told you to change, no need to change it, honestly. Because if it strays too much from what you want your level to be, don't. It's your level, you choose what to do and what not to do, obviously. But obviously, feedback can be useful to maybe improve on your skills or find cool ideas that you might actually like. Just make sure that your level is your level. The 7th tip is to never force yourself to build. If you don't feel like building, just don't. Because I know that it feels demotivating to have a lot of unfinished stuff. Because from personal experience, most, if not all of my levels or all of my decoration is unfinished and unpublished. And it is kind of demotivating and kind of disappointing, but look, I cannot force myself to build stuff because it's gonna be even work. You will burn yourself out, and if you do that, you won't be doing anything. So just, if you wanna take a pause from creating, just, do it. Take a break, whatever. And also, obviously, getting burned out will lead to bad results. Tip number 8 is to never compare yourself to others. Look, I know you might see some insane creations in GD, but look, first of all, if you're a beginner, then there's no way that you're gonna be creating masterpieces. Just trust me, every good creator had to start somewhere. Just other people are other people, you're a different person, so never have your expectations too high, and don't try to compare yourself to other creators. You're a different mind, and that's good. It's good to have variation in the GD creator scene. I mean, wouldn't it be boring if everyone built the same stuff? The 9th tip is to never, and I mean never, be afraid to experiment. And yeah, I know, experiments can lead to pretty unsatisfying or generally bad results. But look, your GD editor is not like Chernobyl or something. It's a GD editor. If you fail, it's okay, you can just move on from it. Maybe, in some cases, even personally I've found there are some cases in which experimenting actually goes really well. And that's good, because when experimenting goes well, you get a good result that is satisfying and original. The last tip, and tip number 10 obviously, is that honestly, you do not really need to build everything in order. I know you see every big creator like Jam Attack, Woolsey and whatnot build everything from start to finish. But look, honestly, is there actually a need to? I mean, kinda. But like, really, if you think that there's a part of the song for your level that's better than other parts, then go ahead, build that part first, so you can take your ideas straight to the editor, and you obviously don't burn yourself out instantly, which obviously, that's not a good thing. So yeah, these were my 10 creating tips. As I've said in the start, and as you've probably understood, these are more mental tips. These won't necessarily make you a good creator instantly, because honestly, there's no real techniques that are better than others. It just depends on what you like most, and obviously what you like most will usually work the best for you. And that's good. That's really how it should be, Also, by the way, we're actually at 200 subscribers, so thank you so much, honestly. So yeah, bye bye.